Anyway, okay, I'm making a new review, and the review is about G.I. Joe, because it was a terrible fuckfest of a movie. It was like, really, seriously, I didn't even pay money for it, and I felt robbed. I felt like someone had come up to me in the street, punched me in the stomach, and took my money, including my change, just everything, and just left me there on the street, and I was just lying there bereft of anything. And I was just lying there on the street thinking, God, oh God, G.I. Joe, who the fuck thought that was a good idea? And the answer is the makers of Transformers. They were like, oh, Transformers, based on children's toys, that'll do so well in a theater. So they were like totally cashing in on that shit. Except the problem is, A, children's toys, B, children's movies based on the toys, which has like shitty plot. It's like, really, you shouldn't try and keep the plot of a shitty movie. You should try and like remake that shit and make it non-shitty. Like, you know, the Batman movies, not based on the, you know, shitty 1960s series. They were like, took the good parts of it and then abandoned all the shit, as it should be. But then G.I. Joe was like, oh, we're gonna make an homage, but with more tits. Anyway, so it was just terrible. So like, okay, to start this shebang off, they're just like, let's get the shit out there so people know this is shit before they even like get into the movie at all. Honestly, I barely remember the plot because the plot was just so forgettable and so stupid. It had something to do with like nanobites that like suck the life out of like Paris or something. Shut up, I don't care. Bites. Anyway, it was stupid, and they had like their multi-ethnic cast just because they were like, look, we have a French guy, and we have an Asian guy, and then we have like a Hispanic guy, I think. Like, the problem with a lot of these movies is that they have like the main heroes who are all like, oh, I'm all independent, I don't need anybody, I take care of myself. And the problem is they have like too many characters who are independent and want to take care of themselves and don't need anybody. And yet they need all these characters to interact with each other because that's the plot. They just decided the plot without any reference to the characters' actual like abilities and personalities. And they just arbitrarily decide this. So they like try and mix everything together, and it just does not work. Like, you have the heroes who obviously should not like each other based on their personalities, and yet somehow the script says they like each other, so they like each other. There's no reason for them to be friends or interact with each other at all. Except for Dennis McQuaid, because Dennis McQuaid is Dennis McQuaid. He just shows up in the movie and is like, yes, I pose, I conquer, I say epic things in hologram form all the time. All the time. Anyway, so that was like the only one on the good guy's side who was like taller. That and boobs. Don't know her name, but she had boobs. So even aside from like tits for tits sake, they had like, I don't know, they tried to like tell you that the GIs are like actually smart, and they clearly aren't smart. So they just give her a book that's like, oh, I'm smart, I read smart books, instead of actually showing her doing anything intellectual, because she doesn't do anything intellectual the entire time. No one does anything that's actually smart the entire movie. We're just like, oh, they're smart, moving on. It's like, this isn't actually an aspect of their character. You're just being told something rather than being shown something. The entire point of visual media is so you can be shown something rather than told something. Like, the Memento did not show, like, they showed most things without telling you anything. They, like, showed you his inability to understand things. They showed him the fact that, you know, he was lied to constantly. They didn't tell you explicitly most of the time. You just figured that shit out, or you didn't understand the movie. Okay, so that was the good guys. And then you have the epic bad guys. Like, you know a movie is just awful when you want the bad guys to kill everyone. Just destroy them. So the bad guys have, like four main people that I remember. So, probably four people. And, like, okay, so you have, like, let's go through the list. You have the British dude with the face. Okay. So, the guy's name is Christopher Eccleston. I looked that shit up. Google, it works. Anyway, so, like, they had the main villain, who I think was Destro, and, like, the actor is actually, like, really, really good. God only knows how much money they had to pay him to be in this shitty movie. I feel like he's been in a lot of other movies, and he's actually been pretty good. He's, like, has a sexy accent, so, you know, I'm covered there. It's nice. But he really has absolutely nothing to work with. Like, the script is just so bland and boring, and, like, he has no reason to be doing anything that he does. Like, they don't give his character any motivation at all. They're like, he's evil. He's doing evil things. End. So then that was him. And then, like, they actually, like, they would have had, like, good scenes if they just written something that wasn't based on children's toys. They're just cashing in on a name. Anyway, second villain. So you had Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I loved because he was in Inception, he was super sexy, and he was, like, wearing a vest. I like vests. Hot. Anyway, so like he was really good, except you couldn't see his sexy face for like most of the time he was on screen. So it was like, why am I watching this movie? I cannot see his face. And it was just disappointing as a whole. I was just kind of confused. It's like, why do you get a really good actor who's really hot and not show me his face or his hot bod? Either or and both.
Maybe there's...
Anyway, so he's actually a really good actor, but he had nothing to work with. He had like no dialogue to work with, no action to work with. His character motivations were weak at best. And then they were trying to do like this weird like connection between like Joseph Gordon-Levitt and that guy who is like the main character. I don't know his name. He's in a bunch of shitty movies. And
Step Up.
Step Up. Yeah, he was in Step Up, and he looks like his neck is like roughly half his body. He's unattractive in my opinion. Anyway. So there's like some connection between like Joseph Gordon-Levitt and neck guy, and then boobs. Second boobs. This is boobs too. There's boobs redhead, and then there's boobs catsuit. That's her name. Anyway, so boobs 2, I call her. She was like sexy-fying. She was wearing like these hot suits and like doing things and like heels, because that makes sense. She's just like running around. It's like, okay, I understand she's a main character. She's like the main motivation for everything that happens in the story, and there's like some cheesy, contrived romance between her and the main character, and it's just implausible. And then they have like these action sequences, which was actually pretty good. I'll give it that. It's like she was, you know, pretty good in her action sequences, except they have the same flaw of almost every movie with a girl as a bad guy, is that only girls can hit other girls, which is why they had boobs 1, the girl for the good guys, exist at all. So she could beat up the bad girl. It's like, really? You create a female character just to have her beat up your villain. It's like, was that really necessary? It's like, if this were a good movie, they'd have guys just being like, fuck it, I'm gonna punch a bitch. It's gonna happen. And while we're on this train of thought, before I get to the last and best bad guy, we're going to talk about Tits 3, which is just this blonde chick who doesn't really say anything, except she's like around Dennis McQuaid the entire time. Dennis McQuaid, what have you done to me? Anyway, she just like follows him around, and she's like, she's not even that attractive, but she just has massive tits, and she doesn't even say anything. She isn't an important character. She doesn't do anything. She has no value, but then they randomly just like stab her, and they're like, lol, stabbed. And you're like, okay. Got rid of third woman in this movie who actually says anything, because there are 3 women in this movie. That's it. And it's like, wow, 50% of the population, not really representing. Anyway, so there was that. And then there's the best bad guy, the white Asian ninja. The white Asian ninja is like, he is the Asian Jesus. He's just like everything you want in an Asian in an action movie. He like punches everybody. He just punches everyone. He wears like this like pristine white suit the entire time, and no matter what happens, he does not get it dirty ever. He like fights people, blood doesn't touch him. His like hands still immaculate. He like throws like red pasta sauce everywhere, and yet he still remains clean because he is the Asian Jesus. It's okay for him. He's just like the crazy shinobi type shit and beats the fuck out of everyone, just everyone. And it's awesome. It's like, he's my favorite character because they don't pretend to give him like a character like morals or like motivation or anything. They're like, yeah, it's an Asian and he's gonna beat you up. And I'm like, thanks, that's what I wanted. I really just wanted an Asian to beat people up. And then they gave me the second thing that I wanted, which is him to take his shirt off. It's like, yes! All my desires are met in this movie. Well, no, none of my desires, but in that regards to eye candy, because that's the only value of this movie as I see it. Eye candy. And that's not a value you want in an action movie. Anyway, so he was pretty epic, and they had some stupid backstory with him, which is fine because that meant more fight scenes, you know? Fight scenes, they were pretty good in this movie. But they like, I find it difficult to enjoy a fight scene if it has like limited build-up, and the build-up is just weak, and you're like, why are these people fighting? I don't know, because the plot said so. Like, did you have a script? Did you read the script? Is that why you're fighting now? Yes. Anyway, so it came to some stupid conclusion, but I didn't really care at that point in time because I just wanted the damn thing to end. I was like, God, oh God, why am I still watching this stupid movie? It was just painful. Like, the plot was non-existent at best. The special effects, like, everyone was like, oh, the special effects are really good. They weren't that great. I mean, it's not like they were bad, but it wasn't like anything I'd go out of my way to pay for. Like, I would never give any money to this movie. In fact, I think you should be paid money for seeing this movie. I mean, the actors were pretty terrible. And, like, the actors themselves could have been in other movies and they've done, like, actually well. It's just that they had, like, a god-awful script based on children's toys. Like, Transformers was, you know, a fairly decent movie because it wasn't, like, a direct thing from the original Transformers. It had, like, everything you knew and loved, but it also, like, modernized it and made it for adults. Like, they're trying to target this movie for adults based on children's, like, motives and understanding of movies. And it's like, you can't do that. Adults require more depth. Even in stupid action movies, we require something other than, like, he's a bad guy, he's gonna fight you now. It's just not enough. It does not suffice to make a movie worthwhile. Yeah. See you, Space Cowboy.